The unexpected intruder. The night on the starship was silent. Only the soft hum of engines filled the officer's small quarters. He had been asleep for hours, far away from Earth, far away from everything human. For him, this mission was just another duty, another lonely rotation in the endless cold of space. But that night was not like any other night because something strange happened. He woke up suddenly. At first, he thought it was a dream. The bed felt warmer, as if someone else was lying beside him. His heart started beating faster. No one was allowed in his private quarters. The door was locked by command codes only he knew. Yet, someone was there. He froze, too afraid to move, too afraid to breathe. Then he heard it. A soft sound, almost like a purr. It was not human. It was low, gentle, and calming, but also strange. A whisper followed. Words he could not understand, spoken in a language that felt musical and alien. He turned his head slowly, his eyes adjusting to the dim blue light of the quarters. There she was. A figure, small and delicate, pressed against him. Long hair floated gently in the recycled air, shimmering faintly like silver threads. Her skin glowed with a faint light, not natural for a human. She looked young, almost fragile, but her eyes, large and bright, were unlike anything he had ever seen. They were watching him closely, waiting for his reaction. He wanted to jump, to shout, to call security, but his body would not move. The warmth of her presence, the rhythm of her breathing, and the strange purring sound had trapped him in silence. He whispered, his voice shaking. "Who are you? How did you get here?" She leaned closer. Her lips barely moved, but her voice was soft, almost like wind brushing against glass. "Do not fear me," she whispered. "I mean no harm." His mind raced. How could an alien be here? The ship was guarded, every corridor under watch. No one could just walk into a human officer's room, unless she had help. Unless this was part of a larger plan. He tried to sit up, but she gently pressed a hand against his chest. Her touch was warm, almost burning. "Stay still," she said. "If they know I am here, you will be punished too." The words sent a chill through him. Who were they? What was happening? He studied her more closely. Her clothes were torn, almost like she had been running, hiding, escaping something. Her face carried both fear and determination. She was not there by accident. She had chosen his quarters for a reason. He swallowed hard. "You need to leave. If anyone finds you here, I will lose everything." But instead of leaving, she leaned closer, her lips near his ear, her voice lower than a whisper. "I cannot leave. Not yet. They are looking for me. And if they find me, you will not survive either." The officer's breath caught in his throat. He had seen danger before. He had faced combat, but nothing like this. This was different. This was intimate, personal, terrifying in a way he could not explain. She pressed against him again, her purring sound growing stronger, filling the silence of the room. For a moment, he felt something he could not understand. Calmness. It was as if her presence was not only physical but something deeper, reaching into his mind, his heart. He wanted to ask more, to demand answers, but his voice refused to come out. All he could do was stare at her glowing eyes. Then, as if hearing his unspoken question, she whispered the words that changed everything. "I am not supposed to be alive." The officer's body froze. The weight of her words hit him like a storm. What did she mean? Was she in exile, a fugitive, a ghost from a forgotten war? Before he could react, she touched his hand gently, her fingers trembling. "Now that you have seen me, now that you have heard me, you are part of it too." The room felt smaller, the air heavier. The humming of the engine seemed louder, pressing against his ears. He realized his life had just shifted. He was no longer alone, no longer safe. Somewhere beyond the walls of his quarters, the ship carried on as if nothing had changed. But inside that room, everything had Dot. And as he stared at the alien girl beside him, her face half hidden in the dim light, he knew this was only the beginning. Dot. The last thing she whispered before the silence returned made his blood run cold. "If you give me away, they will kill you first." The officer closed his eyes for a moment, trying to gather courage. When he opened them again, she was still there, watching him, waiting, purring softly in the shadows of his quarters. The whispered secret. The officer did not sleep after that night. How could he? A stranger, no, not just a stranger, but an alien, was hiding in his quarters, lying only a few feet away. Every sound of the ship made him tense. Every shadow on the walls felt like a threat. He knew one mistake would cost him everything. His duty, his honor, maybe even his life. The girl sat quietly, on the edge of his bed. Her glowing eyes followed him. She did not blink much, and when she did, it felt deliberate, almost human, but not quite. She tilted her head slightly, as if listening to something only she could hear. Finally, he found the courage to speak. "You need to explain," he whispered, his voice sharp, low, careful. "Why are you here? What do you want from me?" She leaned closer, her long silver hair brushing his arm. "I escaped," she said softly. "I was not meant to survive. My people do not forgive traitors." The word hit him hard. Traitors. He stiffened. "Then you are dangerous." Her lips curved into the smallest smile, sad and tired. "Not dangerous to you. Dangerous to them. I know something they want to bury. Something that would change everything for humans." The officer felt his stomach tighten. His training told him not to trust her. His duty told him to call security right now. But there was something in her voice, something fragile and desperate, that made his hand freeze before it reached the communicator. "What? Do you know?" he asked. She moved closer, so close her whisper was almost inside his head. "Your commanders believe the alliance is strong. They believe my people are loyal, but it is a lie. They prepare for war, a war you cannot win, unless you listen to me." His breath caught. Her words were poison, but also truth. He could feel it. The way she spoke, the weight behind her voice. It was not something an ordinary fugitive would invent. "If this is true," he said, "why tell me? Why not tell command directly?" Her purring sound returned, low and steady, filling the silence between them. "Because command will not believe me. They will think I am a trick, a trap, a spy. Only you saw me first. Only you heard me whisper. That makes you different. That makes you the one I chose." His chest tightened. The one she chose? He did not want to be chosen. He did not want this burden. Yet in her eyes he saw no lie. He saw fear, yes, but also a strange trust. Footsteps echoed in the corridor outside. Heavy boots of the patrol guards. The officer froze. Her eyes widened. She gripped his hand suddenly, her skin hot, almost burning. "They are searching for me," she whispered quickly. "If they find me here, you are already guilty. You will die with me." The officer's blood turned cold. He moved fast, pulling her toward the narrow storage locker by the wall. "Stay there. Don't make a sound." He shoved the door closed just as the corridor door hissed open. 2 guards entered, scanning the room with handheld devices. Their armor reflected the pale blue light, their faces expressionless, their eyes sharp. "Routine check," one said flatly. Sensors caught irregular heat signatures. The officer forced a calm expression. "I was asleep. Maybe the sensors picked up engine vibrations." The guards walked around the quarters, their scanners sweeping over every corner. The officer's heart pounded so loud he thought they would hear it. The storage locker was only inches away. One mistake, one beep from the scanner, and everything would end. Finally, The guards exchanged a look. "Nothing unusual," one said. "But be careful. There's talk of a stowaway." The door slid shut behind them. Silence returned. The officer exhaled shakily. Slowly, he opened the locker. She stepped out, her body trembling, her glowing eyes softer now. You see? She whispered. Already they hunt me. Already your life is tied to mine. He wanted to scream at her to tell her to leave, but the words died before leaving his throat. Instead, he asked, "What do you really want from me?" Her answer was a whisper, heavy as iron. Not survival, truth. If I tell you what I know, you must carry it. If you fail, millions of humans will burn. The officer stared at her, torn between duty and something far deeper. He had been alone for so long, loyal to command, loyal to the silent cold stars, and now, this alien girl had slipped into his life, whispering secrets that could destroy him, or save humanity. Her hand reached for his again. I pressed against you that night because my people bond through touch. Once bonded, I cannot lie to you. My whispers are truth. His pulse raced. He remembered the warmth of her body against his, the strange calm her purr gave him. Could it be true? Could she really be bound to him now? She leaned closer, her breath warm against his ear. Do you believe me? The officer did not answer. His silence stretched long, heavy. And then she whispered the words that shook him to the core. Your ship will not see the next sunrise. They plan to strike before dawn. The chase in the shadows, the officer could not stop hearing her last words. Your ship will not see the next sunrise. The phrase kept echoing in his head, each beat of his heart making it heavier. He wanted to believe it was a lie, but the bond he felt told him it wasn't. The alien girl stood close, her glowing eyes fixed on him. We do not have time, she whispered. They are already here. Before he could answer, the lights in his quarters flickered. A low alarm began to hum in the distance. The officer stiffened. That sound was not routine. That sound meant danger. He rushed to the door, but the girl grabbed his wrist. Her grip was surprisingly strong. Not that way. Patrols are coming. They will not only arrest me, they will arrest you for hiding me. He pulled free, whispering sharply, Then where do we go? She tilted her head as if listening again to something only she could hear. Then she pointed toward the service hatch in the corner, a small entrance for maintenance crews. Through there. Shadows are safer than light tonight. The officer hesitated, but another alarm cut through the silence. This one was louder, urgent. His decision was made. He opened the hatch and pulled himself inside, the girl following close behind. The tunnels were dark and narrow. The air was heavy with the smell of metal and coolant. The officer's hands moved carefully over the rungs, guiding both of them through the tight space. Behind him, he could hear the girl's soft purring again. It wasn't loud, but in the silence, it felt like a heartbeat against his back. They crawled for minutes that felt like hours, until they reached another grate. The officer pushed it open slightly, peeking into the corridor below. 2 guards stood there, speaking in low voices. Orders are clear, one guard muttered. Search every quarter, every deck. The intruder cannot leave this ship. The officer's jaw tightened. They were close, too close. The girl leaned close to his ear, whispering, Do you see now? Already the hunt begins. Already you are part of it. The officer felt sweat on his brow. He could not go back. He could not go forward. The only way was down. Carefully, he dropped from the hatch onto the corridor floor when the guards turned away. He pulled her down after him, and the two of them slipped into the shadows. The corridors of the ship had never felt so hostile. Every corner held a threat. Every sound made his heart race. He knew these halls better than anyone. But tonight, they felt like a trap, designed to push him toward capture. The girl walked silently beside him, her movements graceful, almost unearthly. She kept her eyes sharp, scanning every turn. At one point, she pressed her hand against the wall, closing her eyes. They are close, she whispered. Too close. The officer frowned. How do you know? Her glowing eyes opened. I hear them through the metal. My kind was bred to sense vibrations others cannot. That is why they fear me. That is why they try to erase me. Her words sent a chill through him. She was not just an exile. She was something more. A living secret her people wanted to destroy. Suddenly, a heavy sound thundered down the corridor. Boots. The officer pulled her into a dark alcove just as 3 guards marched past, weapons ready. He held her close, his hand over her mouth to silence her breathing. His heart pounded, their faces inches away from being discovered. The guards stopped. One turned his head, eyes narrowing. He raised his scanner. A red light swept over the alcove, wall. The officer's chest tightened. This was it. They were caught. But then, the girl did something unexpected. She pressed her forehead against his chest and let out a deeper, stronger purr. The sound vibrated through him, calming his heartbeat, even lowering his body's heat. The scanner's light flickered, then passed. The guard grunted. False reading, move. The 3 continued down the hall. The officer exhaled, his hands shaking. He looked at her in shock. What did you just do? Her eyes softened. I asked us. Our bond is more powerful than you know. With me, you are harder to find. But without me, you are already dead. He swallowed hard, the weight of her words pressing on him. He wanted to deny it, but deep inside, he knew she was right. They moved again, slipping deeper into the underbelly of the ship. The officer's mind was torn apart, duty on one side, survival on the other. And in between stood this alien girl whose every whisper pulled him further away from everything he once believed. Finally, they reached an old cargo bay, silent and empty. He closed the door behind them, his breath heavy. For now they were safe. But the girl's glowing eyes did not rest. She looked at him, her face calm but serious. This is only the beginning. My people will strike soon, and your commanders are blind. You must choose, stand with me in the shadows, or fall with them in the light. The officer stared at her, his heart thundering. He realized he had no easy path left. The chase was not only through the ship's corridors, it was inside his soul, pulling him toward a truth he was not ready to face. And somewhere outside that bay, the enemy was already preparing to attack. The bond forged in danger. The cargo bay was silent, but silence was no comfort. The officer paced back and forth, his mind full of questions and fear. The alien girl sat on an old crate, her glowing eyes watching him closely. Her presence was calm, almost gentle, but her words still echoed in his head. You must choose. Stand with me in the shadows or fall with them in the light. He pressed his hands against his face. This is madness, he whispered to himself. I should hand you over. That's what duty demands. The girl tilted her head. Her voice was soft but sharp enough to cut through his thoughts. If you do, you hand over more than me. You hand over the last chance your people have. The officer looked at her, frustration burning in his chest. Why me? Why my quarters? Why my life? Her lips curved in a faint, almost sorrowful smile. Because you listened. Because when I pressed against you, you did not push me away. You felt the bond even if you do not admit it. And now, whether you want it or not, our fates are tied. He remembered that night. The warmth of her body, the strange purring that had calmed his heartbeat. He had tried to forget, but the memory pulled at him like gravity. Before he could answer, the ship's alarms screamed again, louder this time, sharper. A mechanical voice boomed through the bay speakers. Warning! Enemy fleet detected. All crew to battle stations. The officer's heart stopped. She had been right. They had come. He rushed to the door, but she grabbed his arm. Wait. I can't wait, he snapped. This is my ship, my people. Her hand pressed firmly against his chest. The same warmth spread through him again, burning and soothing all at once. Her eyes locked onto his. Listen to me. If you fight them without me, you will lose. Your weapons will fail. Your ships will burn. Only the truth I carry can save you. The officer trembled under her touch. He wanted to deny it, but deep, Inside, he already believed her. Suddenly, the bay doors shook violently. Explosions rocked the ship. Dust rained from the ceiling. The girl stumbled, and the officer caught her before she fell. For a brief moment, they stood locked together. His arms around her, her face pressed against his chest. Her purring grew stronger, and he felt his fear slowly dissolve. She looked up at him, her voice breaking. "Now do you see? My people are not here to talk. They are here to finish what they started." The officer clenched his jaw. "Then tell me everything." Her eyes softened, but her words were heavy. "My people fear humans, not because of your weapons, not because of your numbers. They fear something deeper. They fear your heart, your will. They say humans are weak because you care, because you feel too much. But I have seen the truth. Your emotions are your strength. They cannot fight what they cannot understand." He stared at her, stunned. "And you? Why betray your own people?" Her lips trembled. "Because I am not like them. I was born with the bond stronger than any of my kind. They feared me, called me cursed. They tried to erase me. But when I touched you, I knew. I was not cursed. I was chosen." The officer's chest tightened. The alarms outside grew louder. Crew shouted, weapons charged. The battle had already begun. But inside that cargo bay, another battle was raging. One, for his trust, his loyalty, his soul. Another explosion rocked the ship, this one closer. The bay doors buckled. Voices shouted on the other side. The officer grabbed her hand. "We have to move." She nodded, her fingers squeezing his. For the first time, he realized her hand was shaking. She was afraid too. They slipped out through another service hatch just as the doors burst open. Guards stormed the bay, weapons ready, but found nothing. The tunnels shook as they ran. The officer led, but the girl's voice guided him, whispering, where danger waited, where shadows were safe. Each time her hand brushed his arm, his fear lessened, his steps grew stronger. The bond between them was no longer a whisper. It was a force pulling them together. At last, they reached a hidden observation deck. From the wide window, the officer saw the enemy fleet. Dozens of alien warships surrounded his starship, their weapons glowing like fire in the dark. His stomach twisted. She had spoken the truth. Her voice broke the silence. "This is only the beginning. If you stand with me, you will see the war they plan to unleash on all humans. But if you hand me over, you will never live to regret it." The chaos. Officer's fists clenched. He had lived by duty his entire life. But now, looking at the glowing ships outside and the glowing eyes beside him, he realized duty was not enough. And in that moment, as the alien girl pressed her forehead gently against his, whispering softly, he felt something stronger than fear, stronger than loyalty. He felt a bond that could not be broken, not by war, not by lies, not even by death. But before he could speak, the observation deck doors slammed open. Armed guards filled the room, weapons pointed at them both. "Step away from her," one shouted. The officer's heart pounded. He stood frozen between two choices: betray her and live under command, or protect her and risk everything. And as the guards stepped closer, the girl whispered the final words of the night, her voice trembling but steady. "Choose me, or lose everything." The choice that changed everything. The officer stood frozen on the observation deck, his chest rising and falling with every sharp breath. Outside the wide glass window, the alien fleet burned like fire in the night sky. Inside, the guards had their weapons raised, their eyes locked on him and the alien girl at his side. "Step away from her!" The lead guard barked. The officer's pulse hammered in his ears. He felt the weight of every choice pressing down on him: duty, loyalty, survival. He had always believed orders were absolute, but now, looking at the girl trembling beside him, he realized orders could not explain the bond that had formed between them. The alien girl pressed against him gently, her forehead brushing his arm. Her soft purr filled the silence, calming him even as the guards shouted. Her whisper was barely audible, but it carried more power than all the orders in the room. "Trust me, or everything ends tonight." The lead guard took a step forward. "You're protecting an enemy fugitive. Stand aside or we'll fire." The officer raised his hand, palm open, his voice steady but shaking at the edges. "She's not the enemy. You don't understand. She's the reason we might survive this." The guards exchanged uneasy looks. One muttered, "He's compromised." The alien girl's grip on his hand tightened. "They will never believe you," she whispered. "They are blind, just as my people hope. But you see?" The officer swallowed hard. His decision was no longer about rules. It was about truth. He stepped in front of her, shielding her with his body. "If you want her," he told the guards, "you'll have to go through me." For a long, terrible moment, no one moved. The silence was broken only by the alarms screaming through the ship and the thunder of explosions outside. Then, the deck shook violently as enemy fire slammed into the hull. Sparks rained from the ceiling. The guard stumbled. The alien girl pulled the officer close, her voice urgent. "Now take me to the command bridge. If they hear me, they may have a chance." The officer nodded. With the chaos spreading, he pushed past the stunned guards, dragging her through the smoke-filled corridors. Some tried to stop them, but the ship shuddered again, lights dying, systems failing. In the confusion, they slipped through like shadows. At last, they reached the command bridge. Officers shouted over one another, the captain barking orders, screens filled with enemy ships. No one noticed him at first, until he stepped forward with the alien girl at his side. Gasps filled the bridge. Weapons were drawn. "What is this?" the captain roared. "You've brought an intruder into my bridge?" The officer's voice rose louder than he ever thought possible. "She knows the truth. She can stop this." The alien girl stepped forward, her glowing eyes sweeping across the room. She raised her hands slowly, not in threat but in plea. Her voice, soft yet unshakable, carried over the chaos. "Your weapons will fail. Your defenses will fall. My people will show no mercy, but humans are not weak. Your strength is what they fear most, and if you fight as you are now, you will all die. Unless you trust me." The captain's face hardened. "Why should we trust a fugitive?" She closed her eyes. Her purring grew louder, vibrating through the room. The officer felt it, the crew felt it, the fear in their hearts easing, their breaths slowing. When she opened her eyes again, tears glimmered there. "Because I betrayed my own people for you, because I chose him, and because your survival is now tied to mine." The bridge fell into stunned silence. Another explosion rocked the ship, closer this time. The captain's hand shook as he gripped the console. Finally, he looked at the officer. "If this is a trick, you've doomed us all." The officer met his gaze. "Then let me be the one to carry that blame. But if she's right, she's our only chance." The captain hesitated for one final heartbeat, then gave a sharp nod. "Speak, girl. Quickly." She moved to the central console, her fingers hovering over the display. "Your weapons cannot pierce their shields, but there is a weakness in their formation. Strike here," she said, pointing to a narrow gap between the lead ships. "It will break their line. It will give you time." The crew moved fast, feeding. Coordinates, adjusting weapons. The captain barked the order and the ship's cannons roared to life. For one terrible moment, nothing happened. Then, an explosion tore through the enemy line. One ship shattered, the others scattering in confusion. The bridge erupted in shocked cries. The alien girl turned to the officer, her glowing eyes filled with both fear and hope. "This is only the beginning. If you stay with me, more truths will come. But it will cost you everything." The officer looked at her, his chest tight. He knew she was right. By protecting her, he had crossed a line he could never return from. His loyalty was no longer to command, but to something greater, something that had slipped into his life without warning, and whispered softly until it changed everything. And as the enemy ships regrouped in the distance, preparing for their next strike, the officer made his choice. He would stand with her no matter the cost.